When we last left Sniper Elite, it was hashtag rise and grinding in its early 20s. But it made a few mistakes and slowly came to the sad realization that we all face sooner or later. Sniper Elite realized it lost a bit of itself along the way. It wanted to get back to some of what made it so unique in the first place. Sniper Elite V2 played it too safe, too formulaic. For 3, it would have to truly bring it. But before it could return to its roots, Sniper Elite had to find itself again. It decided to hit the road and go to North Africa for a while. But with time, Sniper Elite would even come to make a friend. Maybe even a lover? With the release of Sniper Elite V2, Rebellion did a fantastic job of keeping open lines of communication to fans. The reception was okay, but the whole journey of release and post-launch support definitely introduced some growing pains, including garbage AI and severely claustrophobic linear level design. So with Sniper Elite 3, the team really got to show that they were listening.
What people perhaps don't realise is that even in those maps we were responding to the feedback. The non-linear gameplay was already something people were desperately craving, and in one of the last maps we released, which was called Nurdorf Outpost, we'd already been R&Ding for Sniper Elite 3 by that time, and that was actually sort of like a test level where we did a non-linear level, so it was much more open, and people really enjoyed that map and responded to it very well. And yeah, it's just interesting that was already really had a lot of the DNA of a Sniper Elite 3 level, but in the Sniper Elite 2 era. So that was really exciting for us.
Even as I read more developer Q&As and watch videos just like the one I played for you, it's very apparent that Rebellion valued player agency and choice. Just giving us open maps isn't enough. We need to feel supported by the game's mechanics and sandbox. Honestly, I would argue that was the problem with Sniper Elite 1. The levels were pretty open, but there was very little care given to supporting encounters and gameplay at such a scale. I'm glad to report that that is most certainly not the case here. Options for being stealthy have increased and strengthened in some pretty key areas. You can do silent takedowns when in melee range, and you can tell that Karl Fairburn has been spending a little too much time with Dick Marchenko because he goes out of his way to turn enemies around before stabbing them. Between his new edgy dialogue and sudden preference to look a man in the eyes as his soul leaves his body, I think we need to find Karl here someone to talk to. Overall, the theme of Sniper Elite 3 and the new gameplay inclusions revolve around making me guess less, and I really appreciate that. There's an eye icon in the lower left-hand corner that you can use to judge your visibility, and makes keeping the shadows much easier. The shot masking noises are back with a twist. This time around, you can actually seek out opportunities to create these loud noises. You can sabotage generators from afar to give you a few seconds to squeeze off some shots, but the same goes for loud explosions you can set up to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. My favorite was waiting until I got to a location with a vehicle that I could obviously use as an explosive domino to just cause utter destruction. And hey, speaking of vehicles, there are vehicle kill cams now too. Besides just giving you more sensitive bits to shoot, you can actually watch your bullet travel into the working components of engines and fuel tanks. And to be honest, I'm way less of a stickler for staying quiet and always playing it the stealthy way, because the game actually gives me opportunities to recover from being spotted or going loud. The new relocation system is a bit like the one in Assassin's Creed, where enemies will go from being passive to searching for you, and as long as you're not in plain sight, it's as simple as finding a decent hiding spot and waiting a few minutes. In fact, you can get a shot off totally unsilenced, and as long as you're somewhat concealed, enemies will more or less just scramble for cover. The devs always said that the point behind Sniper Elite was to capture just how terrifying snipers are to the enemy, hence why the X-ray kill cams are so gratuitous and brutal. And of course, the addition of an open world means it can be harder to curate smaller narrative events for the player to experience. So some found narrative is introduced that allows you to read about certain events from the perspective of both the Axis and the Allies. Like here you get to read the passive-aggressive exchange between an Italian and German officer about which composer is better. Karl didn't care for either of these options. And although there are fewer narrative events to experience, there are way more opportunity kills sprinkled throughout. This makes ensuring you've packed all the right gear absolutely essential. Not because it will make your life particularly easy, but because it can feel really shitty to see a great opportunity to mine a particular area or set a trap for a group of enemies and not have the right gear. Luckily, if you pay attention to the introduction of each mission, Carl will actually give you a few hints about what you might want to bring.
The pass is heavily fortified, with plenty of narrow spaces and close-quarter surprises. I'll need to watch my six, and pack a couple of mines to cover a quick exit.
I'm not gonna act like this is some fantastic, subtle narrative gameplay device. Carl is fucking telling us what to pack, but it makes me feel like there's a reason to use the full breadth of the equipment available to us. But the true testament to Rebellion's commitment to shaking up people's playstyles is in the inclusion of the shooting range.
Fire when ready!
The shooting range supplements the open world design and encourages you to try new things. Cause look, I love feeling like I'm being tactical and playing to the map's design, but I'm a lazy entitled YouTuber. If I had to load into a game to try out each new rifle, probably wouldn't change my loadout that often. But in the shooting range, you can try out each rifle on varying difficulties. There are little challenges you can complete here, but that's not really my thing. Something I do think was a fantastic idea is the ability to change between actual game difficulties totally on the fly, allowing you to see how each rifle handles as the shooting mechanics get more complex, as well as get in some practice in a safe environment to really perfect your loadout. When you line up all the secondary weapons, it can really call out the redundancy. Because when you need a particular weapon like a Panzerschreck or an automatic weapon, the game does a pretty good job of providing it somewhere in the level for you to find. That's something I gotta give the developers props for. These don't feel like extremely empty maps. Exploration is worth it for sure. But in the shooting range, when you have them all lined up, you kind of realize you have the same weapon pretty much copy and pasted. Sure, they're all called something different, but they all serve the same purpose in the game's sandbox. The only real different one is the Panzerschreck. To be honest, if you give me a choice between a submachine gun and a rocket launcher, I'm gonna choose the rocket launcher. Guys, it tracks panzers. We kind of run into the same issue with the sidearms since there are two that are silenced and a bunch of other ones that aren't. Why would I ever choose the unsilenced option? Sure, they can be more powerful, but the range on the well rod isn't that bad. And if you have the season pass, which I think is just kind of default at this point, you get access to the HDM. It's semi-auto, the range is decent, and I'm not afraid to say Carl wears the hell out of it. Once you spent an initial 5 minutes here, you've pretty much seen everything there is to see. It's a gift with limited utility, like a treadmill for Christmas. You'll use it once or twice, and then drive to the Canadian Tire 3 hours away to exchange it for a snowblower. This time around, I was actually able to get multiplayer to work, and I played it for just long enough to know I'm real fucking bad at it. Shout out to the 8 people in the world who are still playing this game though. No one talks shit about me going 2-12, and to be honest, they really should have. There's also a challenge mode here that's kind of like Kill Tally from V2. Well no, it's exactly like Kill Tally from V2. I played it for 20 minutes longer than it deserves. I promise I'll have more to say about these sort of game modes for Sniper Elite 4 and 5. Sniper Elite 3 takes place 3 years before V2, in the North African theater of World War II. We travel across Italian Libya, Egypt, Tunisia, and Morocco as Sniper Elite himself, Carl Fairburn. Alongside the British long-range desert group, we sniff out another secret plot cooked up by another German bad guy. You know the drill, we're gonna visit some cool places, blow stuff up, and look damn good doing it. Okay, from this point on, we're going to be spoiling the hell out of the rest of this game because I want to give you a brief overview level by level of each mission, and maybe if you're good, Daddy will give you a little history lesson or two. The first mission, if you can even call it that, is the Siege of Tobruk, and it's more of an extended tutorial. I'm a little confused because this mission is called the Siege of Tobruk, but this is June 1942. The siege is over. What we're playing through is the Fall of Tobruk, which is where the combined German-Italian forces led by Erwin Rommel recaptured Tobruk, along with 33,000 Allied POWs, consisting of Indian, South African, and British forces. Anyway, Carl is sitting in a dark room updating his live journal and slowly building his rifle when he's rudely interrupted by a British soldier.
Snipers! Ah! Stop! I could have dropped my croissant!
You go through a series of tutorials where we learn how to snipe by taking out the most unintimidating soldiers yet. They're just dudes in khaki shorts and long socks. Actually, on second thought, they get exactly what they fucking deserve. We take out a truck and then we begin the stealth tutorials. It does a pretty good job of emphasizing the non-linearity of the level because we get 4, count 'em, 4 Nebelwerfers we gotta take out, and for our hard work we're treated to a title screen while we watch Axis forces roll in like they own the joint. For our first real mission, we're on our way to the GABEROUN Oasis. We're on the trail of who I assume is this game's villain, a man named
Valen.
Carl explains that he's a big proponent of nerve agents. If If you're not sure what makes Nerve Agent so bad, you should go check out the V2 video right here. We're treated to do a John Madden style breakdown of the map, something we'll get before each mission going forward. Carl notes the spots of elevation, points of interest, and mission targets. In this case, we're tracking down some officers that might have intel on Valen and where he's gone. GABEROUN is a big map, but like a third of it is water. It's fine, because this level, and honestly most of them, have lots to see. They're extremely visually interesting and have very distinctive features that set them all apart. The oasis itself is very, I want to say, mysterious. There's a fog coming off the water, and we're traversing ruins that have been here for who knows how long. I think it was a good call setting this one at night because visibility is much smaller, and we have more opportunities to try out all the new mechanics at our disposal. It all culminates in an ancient temple where I absolutely did not draw too much attention to myself and end up building a wall of corpses. I'm shocked you would even accuse me of something. Our next mission finds us in HALFAYA Pass, nicknamed Hellfire Pass by the British. This extremely tight, close quarters map was the scene of another notable chapter in the North Africa campaign. Rommel's forces were significantly undersupplied, and the decision was made to dig in rather than continue forward. 88mm cannons were concealed, and the turrets were even removed from destroyed British tanks for reuse. Nothing went to waste. When the British returned during Operation Battle Axe, they were surprised to find much of this hidden artillery already trained on them. This resulted in a high number of tank casualties, an eventual retreat. And what made this whole situation all the more of a black eye for the Allies? Rommel was just reusing tactics used to defeat him at TOBRUK just weeks earlier. The HALFAYA Pass we're dropped into is one of my favorite levels in any of the games we've looked at so far. Is it because it rewards taking it slow and observing the different AI routines? No. Is it because this is some of the best use of verticality and sightlines we've seen thus far? No. Is it because I can get under every truck I can find totally unobstructed? Okay, the answer is yes, but I kind of regret building it up like that, because it doesn't sound that impressive. But Sniper Elite 1 Carl Fairburn would have a .50 caliber cartridge in his pants. Right, Carl?
Maybe.
Fort Refugio is another night mission, and it really reminded me how frustrating I find it when you can shoot out some of the lights and not others. I totally get what a fucking nightmare lightning and shadows can be for performance, and considering this game was co-developed for PS3 and 360 in addition to PS4 and Xbox One, I'm sure the devs would have included it if they could, but it's still annoying. I mention it because if it wasn't such a pain in the ass trying to sneak into this fort, it would have been one of my favorite missions. But because I can really only shoot out the searchlights and lanterns, I felt like the paths I was being corralled down by the game didn't make that much sense. I'm also the guy that walks straight up the driveway and wonder why I'm getting caught. But once you get in the fort, it's great. This level is very Raiders of the Lost Ark in all the best ways. Carl has to locate an informant named Brower and get him out. Unfortunately, we find him locked in a cage. Fortunately, getting people out of locked cages is one of Carl's love languages. What happened next was a blur. Carl knew the mission, he knew the stakes, but what he didn't know is how damn easily he would fall in love. God damn, I gotta say the checkpoint system in this game is atrocious. Totally my fault, I could have made a better effort to quick save, like they make it super easy for me. But in my defense, during the high octane moments, I'm not thinking about when the last time I saved was. I'm thinking about the structural integrity of the underside of my desk, because it feels so damn good to blow shit up. Next up is Siwa Oasis, and we're starting to hear rumblings of the Desert Ghost, the nickname given to Carl by the Axis soldiers. I think this is a really cool nod to the mystique that elite soldiers and units can carry in warfare, and totally leans into the theme Rebellion was trying to push about portraying how terrifying snipers could be to the enemy, so much so that they become these omnipotent specters haunting the battlefield. In particular, two absolute legends come to mind. The first is Lyudmila Pavlichenko, also known as Lady Death. Credited with 309 kills, she's remembered as the deadliest female sniper of all time. In 1941, after Germany invaded the Soviet Union, she left Kiev University where she was studying to become a teacher and requested to join the Red Army's infantry. Although she was encouraged to become a nurse instead, Lyudmila refused, and after attending a 6-month sniping school, was assigned to the Red Army's 25th Rifle Division. Due to weapon shortages, she was equipped with only a single frag grenade. But after a wounded comrade gave her his Mosin Nagant 1891 rifle, Lyudmila quickly proved herself to her comrades by shooting 2 Romanian soldiers over a quarter-mile away. By the end of the Siege of Odessa just a few months later, she'd racked up over 187 kills. When a German attempt to bribe her with chocolate and an officer rank in the German military didn't work, they instead threatened to tear her into 309 pieces. Not only did this not faze her, it delighted her, because it meant her total kill count was known by all. Our other real-life sniper elite is the White Death himself, SIMO HÄYHÄ. SIMO served in the Finnish army in the Winter War against the Soviet Union. Oh yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but before Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, Stalin was totally content being BFFs with Hitler. Something about friends respecting friends' living space. Anyway, after Finland refused some land treaties with the Soviets that would give them a bit of a buffer zone in the event of a German attack, Stalin figured he could just roll in and take it, starting what would be known as the Winter War. Because the Finns were so outnumbered by the Soviets, they relied heavily on hit-and-run guerrilla tactics. SIMO had already gained notoriety as a marksman during his earlier years in Finland's Civil Guard, apparently hitting a target 500 meters away 16 times in 1 minute with a bolt-action rifle that only held clips of 5 while still in training. SIMO is used as a massive propaganda tool by the Finns, so it's always difficult to separate reality from the myth. But even as a young man, SIMO was very quiet, reserved, and hated to be the center of attention. But he claimed in a private memoir that wasn't even meant to be read that he had shot over 500. He referred to this number as his sin list, and understanding that context, I'm apt to believe him. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, what does this have to do with the Siwa Oasis level of Sniper Elite 3? Not a damn thing. Welcome to the channel. Anyway, this level is pretty great. It's split into 2 distinct areas. When we start out, we're outside the city here in some very lush farmlands. I know we've already been to an oasis, but that was at night, so it wasn't clear just how much visual interest and variety there was to see. I'm really pleased with the environmental design in general of Sniper Elite, but this entry in particular is notable because I think it would be very easy for all of the levels to kind of run together. But Rebellion is doing a great job at showing how distinct various areas across North Africa can be. Speaking of distinct, talk about giving the player some options. This map in particular has a few different ways you can proceed to get into the city. I took the side route to get a head start on the Flak guns, which allowed me to climb up high and get a decent view of the inner city. The game plan here is to collect some intel contained in one of Alan's notebooks. However, there are 3 potential officers that have it, so you need to tag them and just wait. Man, everyone memes on escort missions, but at least there's some kind of exposition or banter to keep you slightly entertained. I know it comes with the territory of tactical games where you'll inevitably have to sit and wait, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. Especially here where I mess up and kill the guy before he can show me where the documents are, so I have to watch the whole meeting and walk all over again. Whatever, so I kill the guy and I'm on my way out when we find ourselves in the middle of a boss fight. Or at least as close to a boss fight as we'll get in this game. This concept gets reused quite a bit as it capped to certain levels, which can start to feel like we're just adding artificial length to the game. I mean, there were only 8 missions at launch, and we're more than halfway through all of them now, so our boy toy Brower comes in way too fucking late to serve any use, considering he brought the cavalry and I still have to run around to take out some snipers. I guess it can be tough when you're giving the player a surplus of information about a mission as far as where to go and what the objectives are in advance to ever really surprise them. But the way Rebellion did it here felt very clumsy and tacked on. It's like I finished the level and they heard me muttering to myself about how easy it was, so they decided to hit me with a few, but wait, there's more moments. It's all good, the level is over, and now we move on to my favorite, KASSERINE Pass. Alright, so this one, oh wow, look, this poor half-track is having a bit of trouble there. Luckily, the scripting issues in this game are mainly relegated to stuff like this and checkpoints. There's not too much sitting around waiting for stuff. So a good amount of this level is sneaking through these tight passes and avoiding enemy armor while taking out some Nebelwerfers. Par for the fucking course, it's a day that ends in Y, so Sniper Elite is going to give us some Nebelwerfers to blow up. But once we get past that section, we get to the real showstopper of KASSERINE Pass, these ruins that the Germans are dug into. Now in the actual KASSERINE Pass, there are a bunch of Roman ruins, but none of them are built into the side of a rock face like this. To me, this looks more like an allusion to Petra in Jordan, specifically the treasury, but as far as I can tell, this specific landmark is fictional. Regardless, the whole offensive required is great, just real solid Sniper Elite action. I wouldn't even try to play this one stealthy. Everyone knows where I am, but it's a small price to pay for me to treat each one of their spinal columns like my own personal Jenga tower. Once everyone is taken out, we can sneak in and search for the safe. First we gotta cross the map and get the safe combo. I knew this was too easy. So I get the safe code, Brower shows up just in time to become British taco meat. I take out another tiger, and we get to watch a film reel perfectly narrated for our expository needs.
Das ist die neueste Wunderwaffe, die Ratte P1000.
Turns out the bad guy's big plan is to build a giant tank, the real-life German wonder weapon, the Rat. Oh, does that mean you're getting back-to-back history lessons? Sure does, bud. If you've never heard of the Land Cruiser P1000, nicknamed the Rat, there's a chance you're taken aback by this idea, but in reality, the Third Reich was always horny to make shit bigger, with Heinz Guderian, the man who would popularize the use of blitzkrieg warfare, going on to say Hitler's fantasies sometimes shift into the gigantic. The Rat would have been a little under 130 feet long with their guns pointed forward, with armor between 5.9 and 14.2 inches thick. For armaments, the Rat had two 280mm naval guns, supported by four 128mm flak guns. This 1,000-ton bastard required engine capacity between 16 and 17,000 horsepower, and a crew of 20 plus to operate. The Rat never got past the blueprinting phase because it was a fucking terrible idea. Like on paper it sounds cool, but to reiterate, this big bitch would have weighed over 1,000 tons. That means to get anywhere, it would have needed to go there under its own power. So if it broke down, that meant it was a sitting duck. You can stick as many naval guns as you want on her, but it would have been a massive target, and I'm not so sure it would have ever gotten many hits in on the enemy before being disabled somehow. So let's say, for argument's sake, it was deployed in Europe. No bridge is going to support this thing. It's bigger than the fucking bridge. Oh, in North Africa? Did I mention it was over 1,000 tons? North Africa would have been a nightmare. All that sand, it's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets in everywhere. Who did Edward Grotta think he was? A fucking Jawa? So yeah, that's the Rat. Sorry to burst your bubble. In the last video, I've talked about how legitimately terrifying nerve agents are, because, well, they are. But I'm not about to pretend this was ever a legitimate threat to the Allies. To be honest, I think Carl knows this too, but after scooping up what was left of Brower into a half-liter Ziploc bag, I think he's going along with it simply as a means to an end. Alright, our second to last mission is PONT to FAHS Airfield, and fuck me if this isn't a showstopper. It starts out with this great nighttime stealth section, just so many opportunities for sabotage and subterfuge. You really get to live out your fantasy of being the #1 snipe snake, Sergeant Slither. For me, this map really kills it when we're able to go down into the bunkers and sneak around these labyrinthine tunnels. We let some prisoners go, take some more guys out, get caught, and get caught some more. Also, I'm running into one of the issues I'm not a fan of having in Sniper Elite, where the meshes aren't matching up with the textures, or there's some kind of black hole that's stopping my bullets from hitting their target. I had to reload a few saves just because I kept exposing myself trying to take out these snipers. Whatever, I can live with it, because we get one of the best moments in Sniper Elite history in this level. Our boys in the LRDG roll up to start the party, and it's a no-holds-barred shooting gallery. Everything's blowing up, and I'm getting double and triple kills. It's just awesome. Even when I once again forget to save in any capacity and have to start the slaughter because the checkpoints once again blow, I didn't even mind that much. This is a lot of fun. Having to sneak around and take out the armor that rolls up at the end to escape really just is icing on this very sandy cake. I'm on cloud 9 right now. And because they're dedicated to not letting a partial go to waste, Rebellion sticks to the landing with an awesome final level. Set in the side of opposing cliff faces, Rat Factory has us ducking into industrial drafting and production zones and some pretty jaw-dropping natural features to create just a really great level, both in looks and functionality. I think if there's one thing Rebellion really started to nail right around this game was the sightlines. I don't care how unlikely it is, I'm going to make these shots. Give me a fraction of a chance and you can bet your ass I'm going to try it. There's actually been a few times now when I was able to maneuver into positions and take out certain enemy emplacements from across the map with just a well-placed shot. It's like Rebellion is able to tap into a power fantasy, but because it's a tactical shooter, they understand the fantasy relies more on finesse and intelligence rather than run-and-gun gameplay. So we fight along through the cliffs and finally come face to face with... Soika? No. Wagner. What the fuck is his name? Valen. Yes, Valen is his name. Thank you. Honestly, it's kind of funny that his name is so generic and unforgettable because if this were a movie, he'd absolutely be played by that one guy who always plays generic and forgettable villains. Now I gotta figure out who. Neil McDonough. Yeah, that's the guy. So he monologues instead of blowing a hole in Carl's brain, which gives him time to get away and get all up in that mountain's guts, where the rat's being constructed. I like the environment here, but not the gameplay it brings, if that makes any sense. There's just too many sightlines and opportunities to be seen by enemies in places you weren't expecting. As far as I'm concerned, this is just me having to take my medicine. I feel like I'm immersed. I like sneaking around and taking my time. Sometimes you gotta be extra careful and reload a few saves, no big deal. So I sneak around and place 4 explosive pouches around the hangar, avoid enemy fire while running to safety outside, finding a nice little breakfast nook to do some pest control. Valen gets yeeted by the explosion, and Carl isn't too concerned. He steals Valen's Luger and releases the caged bullets, insisting free range is the way to go, which is why he brought some from home. Luckily, he brought enough for the class.
is dead, and the rat is destroyed.
Damn it, why is Carl so fucking cool? Alright, the first DLC mission is the one we all saw coming. This entry's level of the Let's Kill Hitler level, but my enthusiasm quickly died out because of one absolutely asinine mistake. Before I explain this, I need you to understand, I am fully prepared to call myself on my own shit. I'm bad at games, okay? I'm dumb. I'm lazy. But I am not going to take an L on this because this fucking door drove me insane. You've been watching footage of this game literally from start to finish, and I have to ask you, did you ever, once, see me open a door? Did you ever once see a prompt to open a door? Hell, half these houses don't even have doors. When I was running around for, I swear, a good 10 minutes checking my map, wondering if there's a secret entrance or some way I can't see to proceed to the courtyard, the thought never once crossed my mind to start trying doors to see if I could open them. The game never taught me this is something I can do because it's not. Oh, sorry. It's not, except for this one magic door that's my portal to sweet fascist killing ecstasy. Look at this, I ran by this door 100 times, but unless you're standing in the right spot, you won't see the prompt to open the door. I could see there was something kind of special about this door because there's light poking through, but in my mind that meant there was a trigger somewhere that I haven't hit yet. Maybe I had to kill everyone, who knows. After this happened, I was beside myself. It's so obviously a loading zone, I get it, but I'm pretty sure we got a cutscene fairly close to this moment that they could have just given some excuse in the cutscene for why we couldn't double back and had to go forward. Okay, I've had my conniption fit. On to the rest of the video. The remainder of the level is fine, pretty cookie cutter by Sniper Elite standards. We're not 100% sure this is the real life Hitler, so we need to sneak around and find some documents written by soldiers who work here to try to find out if this is a body doubler. There's some decent cat and mouse action, but then it comes down to whether or not this is the real Hitler. Carl straight up says he could just never know what the right answer was. I think there's more to dig into here, but I'll have to save it for some other time, because there's a plot to kill Churchill a-brewin', and I'm not just talking about his teeth. Alright, so as you've gathered, the general premise is that there's a plot to assassinate Winston Churchill. That is not at all used as the vehicle to introduce a German sniper who's also considered elite and kind of a superfan for Carl. Not one bit. There's 3 separate levels here. One is like a redux of Siwa Oasis, one is the version of Rat Factory I wish was in the campaign, and the final one is an Uncharted level, basically. There's a good mix of missions here that tend to be exclusively sabotage-based. You could argue that pretty much everything Carl does is sabotage-based, but here we see him doing stuff like destroying enemy food supplies, destroying minefields, and walking headlong into an ambush, and it was revealed to the player in a half-decent way. I mean, just look at the look of betrayal on Carl's face. He looks like a jaundiced, sunburned testicle, just totally haunted. It could be worse, however, since there's a stack of trench guns right outside the tent that no one thought to move, so I'm able to live on my various Brendan Fraser and the Mummy 1 and 2 based fantasies while shooting my way out of here. The next level is the one that reminds me a lot of Rat Fact, so much so that when I was doing my write-up of that level, I was constantly getting the two confused in my head. What it does really well is give us a trail of readables about our new bad guy, really driving home the fact that this is a super bad guy who has live targets run around the shooting range for him to practice on. But I immediately forget about its flagrant disregard for human life because we get access to a new secondary weapon that would work wonders in my own pursuit of flagrantly disregarding human life. The next level is our showdown with Rob Vogel. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you, his name's Rob Vogel. And outside of being a fantastic level with lots to do and see, seriously, this might be one of my favorites in the whole game. Do they ever fumble the fucking landing on this one? See, Rob Vogel has started wearing this badass iron mask, and for the final showdown they have you face off against him and his team of snipers, who are lurking in the shadows and could attack you from anywhere. But all this tension goes right out the window when you consider I domed Rob Vogel without even realizing that's who I was shooting.
Rob Vogel is dead.
I can respect the desire to try something a little different, but this was so anticlimactic. I almost would have rathered he came out in an even bigger Tiger tank and been sniping me from the top hatch. At least then I would have known I was facing off against him. Well, there you have it, Sniper Elite 3. I think we're finally digging into gameplay that's very close to what we get in 4 and 5. That's thanks in no small part to the work Rebellion did to tune those gameplay systems and course correct from V2. Like, the actual lessons they learned and how they treated this franchise going forward can be seen in the actual game design. Of all the improvements made to the Sniper Elite formula, even more so than the open-end approach to level design and any sort of new gimmicky kill cams, they fixed the problem of being caught. They fixed the problem of being caught being the end of the road for people who like to be stealthy. Whereas in V2, you'd have to reload a save. In 3, if you do get caught, you just have to look at the situation from an incident response and containment perspective. God damn, did I ever think I'd be writing that in a script?
For fuck's sakes, I'm having trouble talking to you, but I am smart.
You just kill whoever saw you, get away quietly, wait for people to stop searching for you, and don't make the same mistake again. Or do. I'm not your dad. But you see what I mean? Rebellion removed any definitive punishments for trying things different. There's more reasons than ever to use your full arsenal, and once again, if you mess up, there's not an obvious tonal shift to how you need to finish the level. They've given the player agency in their own gameplay stories and freedom to make mistakes and have fun. This adds replayability, this adds player freedom, and most importantly, it adds the ability for me to crawl under trucks. And in my books, that's just dandy. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe in that exact order, otherwise I'll find you. And if there's a particular game you'd like to see me cover, then toss that in the comments too. This has been an escape from my analog nightmare. Good luck in yours.